There's this guy I used to be really close friends with. We hung out a lot and had a lot of the same friends. We had Jesus in common and genuinely helped each other grow in our faith. It was good. But then my friend went through a rough patch. Things really started to fall apart in his health, his work, his spirit. He reached out to me and I became his main place of support. But over the next couple of months, something began to change. He began to become very critical of me, and not just to my face, but behind my back to our friends. It started to affect my other relationships negatively. Within 3 months, it went from one of my closest friendships to my most painful relationship. I didn't handle it very well. I felt hurt, betrayed, wounded. I mean, why would he turn to me for support and then attack me? I began to distance myself from him. I never completely broke off the friendship, but I built a large emotional wall between us. A couple of years later, he apologized to me. His time of trial happened to come at a time when everything in my life was going great. Family, friends, work, everything I could want. I came to represent all the things he was being denied in his life, and he became jealous and resentful. It was the kind of emotional response that happens when people are in pain. Forgiveness was asked and granted, but I never felt the same towards him again. I understand the rough spot he was in. I don't hold what happened against him. I just don't want to be friends anymore, you know? I guess I'm still afraid of him. And we'd have to work out some hard things. It's just easier to leave the wall up and move on. Over the past couple of sessions, we've been looking at different areas of life where alienation can enter, whether that's your relationship with God or how you see yourself, or relationship in your family, your church, neighbors, strangers. We've also talked about reconciliation, that God is continually at work to reconcile us, to restore our relationships with God and one another. I asked you to think and pray about an area in your life where you're struggling with shalom, with wholeness, with reconciliation. The story I just told is an example from my own life where there's lingering brokenness within my church family. Over the next couple of sessions, we're going to walk through these together and look at some steps that we can take to receive God's reconciling power in our lives. The first step in reconciliation is wanting it. Turns out this is often the hardest part of all. This is probably most obvious when it involves reconciliation with someone else, so that's the main place we're going to focus on today. We can find all kinds of reasons to avoid reconciliation. Sometimes we clothe our disdain as concern. You know, they need to suffer for what they've done or they'll never learn. Sometimes the struggles worn us out and it's like, I'm too tired to fight anymore, but I'm also too tired to make up, so I'm just going to let it go. So we tell ourselves that we can resolve the conflict by just walking away. Sometimes we don't want to reconcile because that would mean forgiving, and the pain seems too great for that. Sometimes we don't want to be reconciled because, well, frankly, we just don't like them. We don't want to be friends. So one way or another, we choose the brokenness instead of choosing life. It's so easy to choose revenge or vindication. It's a powerful desire. It's what Hollywood is built on. It's all about establishing who the bad guy is and then making sure justice is served. But choosing those things is choosing brokenness. When the bad guy gets crushed, there's no reconciliation, there's no love. And if there's no love, there's no abundant life. Standing over the body of your enemy with blood on your hands may be victory to the world, but it's not life. Nor is seeing your rival embarrassed in a meeting, or driving away people who disagree with you, or taking delight in misfortune falling on people you don't like. Vindication will rot your heart. Jesus' way is love. Jesus' way builds up. Jesus' way is reconciliation. Jesus' way is life. It's interesting how tightly we can cling to things that are trying to kill us. Envy, spite, jealousy, anger. These are all cancers that slowly suck the life out of us. Let me give you an illustration. This is our movie drawer. This thing is full of movies that we liked well enough that we decided we'd want to watch them again. Of course, we don't have enough time to watch all of these, and besides, we'd rather watch our favorite movies multiple times. But even the best movie, I don't want to watch more than once a year. But that doesn't seem to apply when I'm angry. If I've been hurt by somebody, well, I have this drawer in my head where I keep all my memories. I have hundreds to choose from, thousands, many of them great. But when I'm wronged, the only movie I want to watch is that movie, the movie about my pain. I run through that over and over and over. Why would I want to watch a bad movie over and over? Maybe it's because I'm always the hero in my pain movies. I'm both the victim and the victor. This time, I say the perfect thing. I dismantle them with my brilliant rejoinder, or I prove how much better I am by keeping my cool. Whatever the storyline is, I'm the hero and I'm vindicated. I suppose there's a certain kind of satisfaction that comes from being right, but every time I replay that movie, I relive the pain. Instead of ending the pain, the movie keeps it going. I can keep that pain alive for years. Sometimes we manage to keep the drawer closed and just walk away. But that's not life either. You end up saying, I can't go near that drawer, and I can't go near that drawer, and I can't go near that drawer because there's too much pain in there. And you end up being a prisoner in your own house. Alienation, bitterness, unforgiveness, they will take you prisoner. They feed your sense of righteousness and self-justification, but in the end, they're going to kill your soul. We make these choices that foster the pain when Jesus wants to heal it, but Jesus can't heal the pain until we let it go. There's a word that we use for this process of letting go of the pain and the desire for settling accounts. It's forgiveness. Jesus makes it abundantly clear that his followers are to be people of forgiveness. Why would he demand this difficult thing? Because it's letting go of the pain. It's letting go of the thing that holds us hostage. It's central to how we choose life. You know, Jesus says this curious thing about forgiveness. He says, if you don't forgive others, then God won't forgive you. Now, maybe this is just a twist on the golden rule, saying you'll be treated as you treat others. But maybe it's Jesus' way of saying you can't experience God's life while clinging to death, to pain and bitterness and unforgiveness. I want to mention something here. Forgiveness and reconciliation are not the same thing. Forgiveness is just letting go of the pain. It's a decision that I can make on my own. Reconciliation is a restoration of relationship, which only can happen by joint agreement. Forgiveness is a necessary part of reconciliation, but reconciliation doesn't always follow forgiveness because sometimes the other person isn't ready yet. Sometimes the other person is too broken to engage in healthy relationship. If a person is abusive or too dysfunctional, they're probably not capable of healthy reconciliation, and it's probably not time for reconciliation yet. It's important to have boundaries in place for their sake as well as yours. What those boundaries look like is very situational. It's so easy to make them too high or too low, so my advice is to find wise people to help you set those boundaries. So you're always called to love, always called to forgive, probably called to reconcile. But even if you seek reconciliation, the other person may or may not be ready to reconcile. So the first step in reconciliation is desiring it. It's rooted in letting go of the pain and instead throwing yourself on Jesus. The way in which we let go is by forgiving, by choosing life instead of pain. There's a powerful connection between forgiving and being forgiven. So the best way to be forgiving is to dwell on the forgiveness that God grants you. Once you've made this decision, you can begin the work of reconciliation. This will include looking both at your own role in the alienation and beginning the process of engaging with the other person. And that's what we'll be talking about next session.